And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast, along with my partners Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and Shelton Moss. I am Curtis Wilson, and this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts at the Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, 301 South Main Street, Blacksburg, Virginia. Gentlemen, since the last time us four got together, it's been about a month. How's everybody doing? How are the holidays? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I didn't drink as much since the last time we talked, so that I guess that gives you a little bit of preview of how my holidays went down. I did not abstain from the alcohol, but I certainly did not go as hard as State of the Program. So,
Tally,
it's been a lot. I've had a lot going on over here, man. My kid broke his leg at basketball practice, so we had to go through surgery. Had a rod put in and screws in his ankle and all type of stuff, and just trying to keep him mentally strong on the journey that we got to take there. New job just started. 2024 has been trying to fuck me. That's what it's been making. So,
well, at least it's happened at the beginning
Shelton.
of the year.
Yeah, man. I mean, I always tell I'm very optimistic about most stuff. It's just hard. But like I said, my son broke his leg. It's hard to see him like laying in the hospital bed. But once I could get him home and get him to doing some normal stuff, and to see him being able to like play his video game and stuff, I'm like, okay, you're gonna be all right. We're gonna get through it and fine, man. I'm blessed. Like I said, we're all blessed. So Sheldon say, "New year, new him."
That's right. Got my nice fresh cut.
Sheldon, how you been, man?
I've been good. I got a little respite back home in Richmond over the Christmas break. The only thing I really did was go up to the military ball. It was pouring down rain the entire time. I was in the press box as a credentialed media member. However, that did not keep me from getting entirely wet because the Navy press box, their pipes were leaking water. So we had some spillage right next to me on the table. And then to make it worse, the window panes had condensation on them. So you could barely see in the second half, you could barely see out of the glass. So it was not, I would not give the Navy press box a good Yelp review. I would say maybe like one star out of 10. With that being said, though, I got to see some friends, so I think it was a great experience.
You should have just came down in the bleachers with me, Sheldon. You'd have been all right. Yep. I could see the game. I was soaked, but I could see the game. I did enjoy the Military Bowl. We did not get to catch up, unfortunately, Shelton. I tried. Yeah. But Shelton got up really late. I got up there really early. And then, like you said, you were going through the press box and stuff. But that is what it is. So, but, we're back. And we've got a lot to unload, as we always do. We are going to talk about that bowl game. We're going to obviously talk about the breaking news that broke about going on 4.5 hours ago, which, Tally, I don't see the barricades up or the sandbags up in the background yet. So I'm assuming nothing's went crazy down in the state of Alabama yet. But we're going to talk about that as well. But let's kick off tonight real quick.
I told Sally he needs to get the barriers up because it's going to be riots. They're going to be in the streets.
Yeah, not yet. Everybody's calm right now. They think they're getting Lane Kiffin or Urban Meyer or somebody. I don't know who they think they're getting right now. So everybody's still calm.
All righty. Well, before we jump on that, because I do want to talk about that a little bit, but let's jump on what just broke or what just happened. Ended about 30 minutes ago. The Hokies won versus a ranked team in basketball by more than basketball. 1 or 2 points.
Technically both. But.
Technically both. We'll hit that one in a second. Sheldon, I know you were really tuned in because you actually texted all of us and was like, I'll be on as soon as the basketball game's over. 87-72. Padula career high 32. I tried to watch pieces of this game, but I got stuff going on. Based on what's happened the last few times out, pleasantly surprised for me. Sheldon, what about you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they shot the lights out. They were 54% from three, 13 to 24. and 54% overall. So just a kind of a lightning in a bottle offensive performance. Obviously, Padula goes off. You got who was it? Tyler Nickel goes off 8 for 11, 5 for 7 from 3. So, I don't know. I mean, 3-point shooting kind of come and go each game. I don't know how if that level of shooting is sustainable over time, but it was good to kind of see them play at least to closer to their capability. I think this year they've had a bunch of players that have regressed from their historical norms, and so it's good to see maybe some positive regression. Hopefully, some of those guys who played well tonight can kind of use this sort of as a launching pad to kind of get to back to where they are capable of playing.
Yeah, and what's even crazier tonight is you take a look at the stat line. The guy who's been like lighting it up all year had his obviously his most pedestrian game of the year in Lynn Kidd from an offensive perspective. I mean, he still went out there, grabbed some boards. Obviously, Kidd's a big guy, a couple blocks. But I think maybe the most impressive thing was Tyler Nickel tonight because that 24. Yeah. Brian, how much did you see of the game?
I was like you. I was kind of checking in and out. We had some stuff going on here, family, whatnot. So was checking in and out. But what I was looking at there, it looks like Sheldon was saying, we had a little bit of reversion to the mean in a positive way. And then we also add in, I think, getting a little bit more from Nickel, or I should say maybe more of what we expected from Nickel for most of the year tonight. I think he looked like a solid contributor, was shooting the ball very well. I think we expected that a little bit more. Maybe this is a sign of things to come. Maybe this is just kind of a one-off. I guess we'll see as we get further to ACC play. But I liked what I saw tonight. If we can get, 80, 90% of that every game, I feel like we're going to be doing all right against most of the competition that we play. So, if we can keep most of that level together, I think we'll be all right as we get further into ACC play. I liked what I saw, though. Let's see if they can keep it up.
Callie, you catch any of it tonight, or were you?
Yeah, I was tuned in. I watched, probably 80 or 90% of the game. And Tyler Nickel, he had a good game. He was letting it fly. You know what I'm saying? You could tell he came out with the right mindset, and the coaches let him play. He put some shots up. He didn't miss many, but the couple that he missed, it was like you could tell they were kind of heat check shots. So sometimes coaches will be like, "Oh no, we got to take him out, calm him down." They let him keep going, and he kept playing. But I guess what's to be said about this game is they did all of it without Hunter Couture. He was a big reason why the defense was pretty stout at the beginning because he can guard some different positions. But when he went out with that concussion, he got kicked in the head. You could see he was he was hurt. So when he went out, I was like, they're going to blow this lead because what they kept doing, what Clemson kept doing was they kept getting in transition, and their big man would run the floor. Sean Padula would run the floor and go low and get caught on a big man. So they started exploiting that, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's over. But they just couldn't outshoot the Hokies, man. They just kept shooting and kept making them. At one time, they was like, Clemson shooting the ball really well. They're 55% from three. But Virginia Tech's shooting 65%.
There you go.
Like what do you do? So I think the problem that we run into basketball-wise is when we play the very athletic, physical teams like Clemson aren't the teams that really kill us most of the time because they kind of match up the same, and it comes down to who can shoot. But when you get into teams like FSU played, I think that, we gave that game away, but FSU was a very physical team. They're guarding you all the way down the floor. They're pushing. And Padula has a hard time with that because of his size. He's a great player, but he's just, he's like 6'1", 6 foot, something like that. And a lot of these point guards in the ACC are 6'3", 6'4", a little bit bigger frame, and they try to push him around. So we run into that problem, and the offense is much different when the ball isn't going through Padula's hands. So I'm interested to see how they handle that because nobody on the team can really handle the ball like he does, as efficient as he is when he's on. But when you get him off his point is where we run into problems. So interested to see how that is, because the ACC ramps up, and you run into Virginia, you run into Duke, you run into these North Carolina teams, and you see what you're made of. But great start to starting to get into this conference play and going in and getting that win against Clemson.
Yeah, definitely. This is what's coming up. What started tonight and going through the next 3 games. There's definitely probably the toughest 4-game stretch of the conference play, because it's down in Miami. Miami's 11-3. Virginia, that's at Virginia, or Miami at Castle. Virginia at Virginia. Virginia's like 10-4. NC State's 11-3. Those are 2 away games. So, I mean, is it one of those things? Let me get your opinion on this, Sheldon, before we flip over. Do the next 3 games decide if this team potentially could make the tournament?
Well, probably. I mean, because those are kind of all your quad 1 games. You got Miami, UVA, NC State. Yeah, so those are I'm pretty sure those are all quad 1s, because quad 1 is top 75 on the road. So
got one tonight.
Yes, they got one tonight, which is huge. And depending on hopefully Clemson stays in the top 30, but which they are right now. But yeah, I mean, if they hold serve and go 2-1, I mean, that they're looking really good. If they go 1-2, it's kind of like still on the fringe. If they go in 3, I think they're done. So this I think this stretch is very much going to prove whether or not they can make a shot at the NCAA tournament. I was checking the numbers the other day. Right now, we're at 9% according to Bart Torvik, chances of making the NCAA tournament, which obviously is not great, but that doesn't include tonight's win, and we still got a long way to go. So those numbers can fluctuate, game by game. But so they have definitely a chance, but they got to take advantage this week.
Yep.
And all right, now go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say to Tally's previous point, I think a lot of whether this team is going to make the tournament is going to depend on how well Sean Padula can play, especially once we get against those bigger guards. He seems to have a tendency that when he gets pressed like that, he either holds the ball too long or he kind of panics and we get a turnover, right? So he's either holding the ball, we don't give him to our offense, we get a bad shot, or we get a turnover because he panics. So if we can cut down on turnovers, he did a pretty good job of limiting turnovers tonight. If we can continue that against those bigger guard teams like Tally was talking about, I think we're going to be have a good shot in those next 3 to kind of come out of that 2-1.
100%. All right. Now, one team that plays in Castle Coliseum on a daily basis, there is no question that they're going to be in the tournament this year, and we all saw it. But what a win against the number 3 ranked Wolfpack on the other day, with Kitley making that buzzer beater. We know we lost to Iowa and LSU, but we talked on this program. This team still is a legitimate national championship contender. They had a lot of new pieces coming in, and then it started coming together. And I saw the end of that game. That's it. I'll put my hands up. I didn't get to watch the rest of it, but I mean, is there much more to say about the Lady Hokies? Because they're a top 10 team. It's not even a question.
Yeah, I mean they got star power. With the top couple of players, with Georgia and Kitley, you got star power there, which is what the TV likes. And then when it comes down to coaching, I think Kenny's doing a good job of coaching them and bringing the right people in and bringing the piecing the team together after losing a couple of people from that final that Final Four team. So like you said, I mean, that's a deep tournament team. I don't know how deep they go. Of course, that comes down to March Madness, but the way that they're playing and the way that they persevere, I mean, they've lost to 2 very good teams, if not the top 2 teams. I mean, they're up there. So they just got to get over that hump to be able to beat those teams. I say that, and then you'll get put against a 16 seed and then be struggling. But you know what I'm saying? Like those top teams that they've lost to, that's where we were kind of, okay, can we get over that hump and beat them? And then they play the number 3 team. It is at home, but you went on a buzzer beater. So did you get over the hump? Maybe. Well, we won that game, so we'll see. I'm excited for them, though, man. I mean, I'm excited that they got some momentum and some good stuff going. I'd love to see them have a deep tournament run this year.
Sheldon, what you got on them?
Yeah, I think it was a great win. I thought NC State early on hit some tough shots, but Georgia was off her game in the first half, but she kept going at it, and eventually their shots started to fall for her, and they went on. I think it was a 12-0 run towards the end of the fourth quarter, and came up with a good win. So all in all, I think Vegas nailed it. Tech was 1.5 point favorites, and they won by 1. So credit to Vegas for that one. But you look at their 2 losses this year. Iowa was a close game on a neutral court that could have gone either way. LSU, I think, was just a really, really bad matchup. I mean, we just got outmatched physically completely in that game.
Weird timing too. Angel Reese coming back was a huge emotional output for LSU that night too.
Right. Yeah. And so, I think, after that LSU game, I was kind of worried if maybe they were kind of like just a fringe top 20 team. But as Kenny has talked about all season long, he's still trying to figure out his pieces and how they kind of fit together. And as you've seen throughout the course of the year, they've started to gel a little bit more. So I think right now, as Curtis was saying, they're definitely kind of on that cusp of the top 10. And I feel a lot more confident about this team right now than I do, 3-4 weeks ago.
Brian, what you got?
Yeah, I think they're getting together at the right time. Starting to play a little bit better overall. I think the big thing is that you're seeing those other pieces be able to kind of bridge those gaps when, Georgia may be a little off from deep, or, Kitley may not be hitting some of those turnarounds or post-ups. They can weather that storm a little bit better right now than they did in the early part of the year. So I think that's really big. You're seeing those pieces kind of gel and step into a larger role on the team.
All righty. So, again, that was also the Wolfpack's first loss of the season there. So, huge win. And on the basketball front, we'll be, as we're coming on during the off season for football, we'll be hitting on basketball and wrestling here and there. Wrestling got a big one against Cornell this weekend. I'm sure the ACC won't broadcast it because, it's only 2 top 10 teams wrestling-wise. They don't know how to broadcast anything. So I digress. But let's go to the big college football news of the day before we talk about the bowl game. And my wife actually said this.
Hey, before you go into football, y'all see Joe's comment right there. Put that up.
Yep.
So I called him one day and was just talking to him about wrestling. Again, I told y'all, if you got questions about wrestling, he's the person to go to. He does keep up with it, and he can break it down a little bit better for people like me. And he was telling me, hey, they're missing some people. This person, is hurt, or this person, they're trying to hold them out, or they were on some kind of, I don't know what it's called, but some kind of tour where they're doing like a Olympic thing and blah, blah, blah. But he told me that the kid, Cooper Flynn, he was like, they got to bring him back and see if they can save the season. And he has been balling since he's been back. So, yeah, I think Joe said he's number 4 at the 125 pounder right now. So it's been that's been kind of when you know what's going on and you get to watch something unfold like that. That's pretty cool. So I just want to bring some attention to that. Sorry, go ahead, Curtis.
Oh, no worries, man. No worries. Again, I think he had a pretty big win against Mizzou because the Mizzou, we lost the duel, but I think that it was 10 matches split 5-5. Again, that's wrestling and all that weird point stuff. I know Sheldon's getting into it more and more. You got Joe out there. We got our buddy Dave Fuqua who can explain things to me. But, that is what it is. But let's get to the news of the day. Tally doesn't have the barricades up yet. He might not be able to go to work tomorrow. They might be calling a moratorium down in the state of Alabama.
State holiday, man. It's a state holiday.
Flags at half mast and
everything.
It's
It's a mourning day.
But my wife actually said it a few weeks ago. She's like, Nick Saban's going to retire after these bowl games. And I looked, and sure as hell, she nailed it. Nick Saban retires, and so the college football world is now, who takes over Alabama? Why is he doing this? Well, why he's doing it, he's got nothing left to prove. He's 72 years old. He has a plethora of national titles. He is considered maybe the greatest coach of all time. That can be decided here or there or a whole nother category. But I'm going to turn it to Tally because, Tally, Did you work today in the office? And were you still in the office when the news break? Because it was 4 o'clock your time. What happened? Let's hear it.
Oh yeah, I was definitely still at work, and when ESPN sends you something, you know that's the real deal. You know, because I get people that we screw with each other and stuff like that, but ESPN hits me with something, I'm like, they're probably talking about, you know, because I'm doing training right now, and it's just all looking at the computer all day and Zoom calls and things like that. So look down at my phone just real quick, and and it says retiring, and I'm like, Brett Pry finna retire already? You know what I'm saying? So I opened it up, and it says Nick Saban retiring. I'm like, wow. So I went straight to Facebook and started poking people and calling around, and people's calling me, and there was no more work done for the day. But in one of my friend groups, 90% Alabama fans don't want to spread any false information, but somebody said that they think that his wife is sick is one of the reasons why, or she got diagnosed with dementia. I think they said. Don't know how true that is. Could just be somebody trying to cope, but whatever the case is, like you said, he doesn't have anything to prove. I do screw with Alabama fans and try to piss them off, but I mean, he's one of the greatest coaches that's ever coached college football. So, the 17 years that he's been at Alabama, he's been nothing short of amazing. I think in the last 2 years, he's lost 3 games, something like that. I mean, what else does he have to do? But it's changing too much for him, and he got out.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that he's the best recruiting head coach of all time. I don't think that's a debate. I think he's the best team building head coach of all time. You can argue from an X's and O's standpoint, but in terms of preparation for a game, when he's got time, I mean, it's hard to bet against Saban. I mean, the loss to Michigan is something that you just don't see very often by a Nick Saban team, even with what some would consider a talent discrepancy of this year's Alabama compared to this year's Michigan. Nick Saban just did not lose very many games where he had multiple weeks to prepare.
It's true.
Right.
Very true. Sean, what's your take on this?
Well, for me, I think Nick Saban is a truly game-changing head coach. You look at back in the late 2000s, he really kind of started that support staff model where if you go look at the Alabama staff directory, they just have the, dozens and dozens of an army of support staffers and analytics guys. And that model really helped them, kind of build the program into what they are. And I think on top of that, Saban, for me, it's not about the X's and O's really. It's more about the program management, the infrastructure, the culture building. That's kind of where he's kind of made his living. And people want to work for him because they want to play for that culture. So I just think I think he really taught me a lot about football in the modern day because he impressed upon me the importance of having the infrastructure with football to not only, recruit the best players, but also maximize the talent of the players that you do have. There was a time a few years ago where, I thought that Alabama was just, more talented than everyone else. And that's why they won games. But really, when you look at something like that, when I was running some of my player development numbers, Alabama gets more out of their talent than almost any of their team. Like they recruit really good players, but they also maximize those players more than anyone else because that's just what Nick Saban does. So I think it's just a case study in how much, the culture and the program, the administration matters for football. Obviously you got to have the right people in charge, but there's just so much that goes into that program, and Alabama funds and supports football in a very unique way that ultimately made Saban the perfect fit. And there's really no one that has done it better than he has.
You play harder when you're playing for that Hellcat is why.
By the way, Tally, is it any coincidence that Dodge cancels the charge or Nick Saban retires like 3 days later, man? I mean,
people been sending it to me, man. It's a lot of stuff going around down here. I don't know what to think about it, man. I'm just trying to sit back. I'm trying to keep my head on the swivel. You can't mess. It's like a couple of things that you don't really talk about at work here. It's like politics, religion,
always, and
Alabama and Auburn football. You can talk about any other teams, but those two, you got to keep your head on the swivel. You don't know who you're gonna piss off. So
you got to know.
Shout out to Tricky Nicky. You got Alabama fans yelling they getting Lane Kiffin.
Okay, that was my next question. Who you think? You think they getting Lane Kiffin?
I don't know, man. Lane's such a wild card. I could see him. I can say the people in Tuscaloosa love Lane because I think they call him something. They call him because he's so crazy. Like he's got a nickname, something like Joey Freshwater or something like that. Don't quote me, but you can look that up. He's got a nickname. I think it's Joey Freshwater. But they said he would tell the young girls at the bars that's what his name was. So like he just does crazy shit. And the people in Tuscaloosa,
it's Joey Freshwater.
Joey Freshwater.
It's Joey Freshwater.
Yeah, they connect with him because I mean he, Saban had him on a leash when he was there. Like he couldn't talk to the media, he couldn't do none of the shit that he does to be himself. No. So if he does come back, he would be coming back like, okay, this is me. I'm gonna do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? But for a while it was like Dabo was the guy to take over. But they don't want Dabo now because Dabo is his inefficiencies is what Nick's inefficiencies is. Like Nick, he was changing with the game. That's what made him great. But Dabo kind of refuses to do that, and he's not using the portal, and they don't want to lose. So I think Dabo's image is kind of tainted, and he's one of theirs. So I would go against saying Dabo. I would probably say they would go hard after Lane Kiffin or Oregon's coach.
All right.
Just because
Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning, yeah. I would say those two would probably be the ones I would be looking out for.
Brian, you got any difference or other people you thinking about?
Dan Lanning is probably at the top of my list. I'm with Tally. I don't think it's Dabo. Dabo took until late 2023 to actually make an offer in the portal. He did not secure that offer, but he finally made an offer this year in the portal. It's amazing how someone that, from a standpoint of kind of revamping what Clemson was doing from an infrastructure standpoint, is not embracing the portal at this point in time. It's baffling. Like, why is that the hill he wants to die on?
Good question. Sean, what about you?
I think Alabama needs to hire a head coach who is forward-thinking and also very serious. Like Tally said, Lane Kiffin's kind of a wild card. You don't know what he's up to. Dabo was reluctant to embrace transfer portal and NIL. I think Dan Lanning, based on those two qualities, is the best candidate. I mean, he's done a really good job at Oregon in a short amount of time. He's been with Kirby Smart at Georgia, so we kind of know he's learned from his structure as well. I think Lanning would be the best candidate personally.
Yeah, and it seems like it's going that way. He does have the highest buyout on those, but I think there's a point that should be made is money probably doesn't matter down there.
Yeah, this is not quite Texas level buyouts, but this is kind of that second tier, right?
It's kind of the second tier. And if you take a look at him, he was a GA at Alabama back in 2015, and then when Kirby moved over to Georgia, he followed after 2 years down at Memphis under Norvell before he went over to Oregon. Again, success there in his first couple seasons. I mean, I think 20-5 or something ridiculous like that. 22-5, excuse me. I missed a couple wins there. But it's always that piece. Do you want to be the guy after the guy?
No, you don't.
You don't.
No, like, you fucking don't.
Can you tell me who was the coach
Not
after
in Tuscaloosa. No, but he probably wasn't fucking good, and they probably hated his guts. Because if you go to Tuscaloosa this next year and you lose 2 games, they're gonna be on your ass.
His names was Ray
I told
Perkins.
Dion. Everybody was saying they was Dion fans at the beginning of this season. I said, "Fuck it, get Dion down there. Y'all wanted him so bad. You was buying Colorado shit. That ain't gonna happen.
You know that can't happen. You know why?
No,
because
I know why.
The brothers can't transfer, and Travis Hunter can't transfer again because they get the one time
done.
We
don't know that because that there's a moratorium on that right now.
No. The moratorium's over. It's 14 days. It ended already.
Okay.
But here's the sneaky piece, and we all are liking Lanning, and we say Lane's a wild card. Y'all know when class officially starts at Ole Miss?
Yeah.
January 22nd. That means none of those players that he got in the portal have enrolled at all. And that's going to also be a huge story. So hopefully by 2 weeks from now, when we're back together, either interviewing somebody or talking about some stuff, we get to find out more, and we know who the coach is. So,
Oh yeah, they're gonna get. I think they're gonna get somebody in pretty quick.
they have to.
Because they don't want to. They've already got a couple of kids they lost out to. Because I mean, there's been some speculation about Nick leaving, or him getting old. So you had a couple of kids that flipped to Auburn, which was crazy. Which I understand it because I like Hugh Freeze. But you had a couple of high-level wide receivers that were Alabama commits. Now, one was a Texas A&M commit, and one was an Alabama commit. And they flipped to Auburn. And then you had another kid who was a 25 kid, all of them from the state of Alabama, 25 kid Ryan Williams from a school here called Sariland that was committed to Alabama. He reclassified for the 24 year, and he just decommitted. So it's Nick Saban retiring is a big domino, man. And like you said, I mean, if you have somebody like a Lane Kiffin that goes, and then those kids start transferring, and then these kids from Alabama start transferring out, then you got to bring somebody back into this next school that a coach leaves from. I just hope it all works out in Virginia Tech's favor.
Hey,
just get me 9-10 wins next year, man. Let's just keep going up.
Let's keep it rolling. Well, let's talk some Virginia Tech football, and let's tell the truth. Tuesday Bowl edition. Yes, it has been 2 weeks. It feels like forever. I feel like I've watched 100 games since then. But let's talk about that bowl victory. Virginia Tech beats the number 21 ranked Tulane Green Wave 41-21. 41-17. It actually was, 41-20. I'm gonna get the score right eventually here. I was there.
Math is a bitch.
Yeah, it is, man. It is, boys. But let's talk about that game and what we always do. I don't think we're going to be as in depth because there's nothing after this, right? But let's talk about it. Sheldon, in your eyes, what went well in the press box, waving condensation off the screen? What went well that Wednesday afternoon?
I think Drones ran the ball very well. They were able to open some holes on the O-line, and I know the O-line has received much criticism this year, but they were really kind of moving some guys around. I mean, it wasn't just like Drones kind of scrambling for his life or going around the tackles. Like they actually went, they went up, towards the A and B gaps in between the tackles and had a lot of success with some of those runs. So I thought that went pretty well. I thought they kind of hit some big run plays with Tootin going outside. Defense was pretty solid. They gave up some drives. They gave up some yards, but they were fortunate that Tulane fumbled a few footballs and got on top of those. So I think the conditions kind of made it a little bit hard to judge, as you guys could certainly see on TV if you were not there. It was just as, if not more, wet than you think it was. But I mean they just kind of brought out the road gritter offensive line, and they just it was a field day, man. They were just running the ball all over the place.
Brian, what about you? What went well in your eyes as you were watching it there at the house?
Yeah, I think just the team intensity. I feel like they stuck with it the whole time. They looked like they were on a mission to win that game. They didn't let those sudden changes with the fumbles, with the weather causing some of those problems, get them off track. They were able to answer. And eventually the talent took over at the end of the game. That's when you saw that defense wearing out for Tulane. That's when we were able to, as long as we were able to hold on to the football, we were able to finish drives, put up points, and put them in a bad spot. So I think the team intensity was the most impressive thing for me.
Tally, what about you? I know that was around when your son was getting hurt and everything. Or was it before? Was it after?
No, it was before. It was before.
All right, so not as stressful on your mind. What went well in your eyes as you were watching it?
Well, even before the game, it's what went well. Like the whole team being there, everybody showing up and being prepared to play. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it said we had 21 of 22 starters that was in the bowl game. That's huge. Like I don't know many teams that were out there in a meaningless bowl game that had that many players show up ready to play. So, having all of our guys there that was ready to compete. We had some of our recruits that are coming in that's enrolling early, practicing at the bowl practice. Like that's what getting to a bowl does for a team like Virginia Tech. You know what I'm saying? Some people's like, oh, it's just 6-6. And, it doesn't mean that. Well, for a program that's trying to, find his footing, that's a big thing to be able to sell to a recruit. Hey, you can come and get get some reps in with some great college players, some all ACC players. Think about Chaz Wiggins going and working out with the team for the bowl prep. Then he goes and plays in the All-American Bowl and shows out.
He does show out.
Builds up his stock, because I'm sure that when he's practicing against, the likes of Dorian Strong and Mansour Delane and Dante Lovett and Braylon Johnson, it's different than who he's been playing in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So when he just went to the bowl game and was working out against those kids, it's like, okay, this is business as usual. Everybody's good. So that's what I think went good, just having the whole team there. And I'll go back to what Sheldon said when he said, we had people moving people and running the ball. It was like, I text y'all and was like, what are we doing? Just run the ball. They cannot stop. They can't stop us running the ball. Like, we kept trying to throw it, and Kyron's his release is a little different. It's kind of long at the bottom, and he kept losing it at the bottom and things like that. It's like, you don't even got to do that. Just run it. They're not going to be able to stop you because of the wet weather. And like Sheldon said, our offensive line actually looked like they wanted to be mean and push some people around, and we did. So those things was good to see.
Yep, 100%, especially that run game. 362 yards on the ground on 50 runs, 2 over 100, drones over 100. I love to see I'm a third down preacher. I know Shelton's against it because he believes first and second's more important.
That's right.
But when you get to third down and you go 9 of 16 over 50% on third and fourth downs, obviously they had 25 total first downs. So 16 before they had to get to third down, they converted on, and then 9 more. You're going to win a lot of games doing that. You just are. But the other thing I got to say, we know Daquan Wright in the portal. I don't know where he's landed yet. I had not had a chance to look at that. But to see St. Germain and Benji Gosnell play out there, both make a couple touchdown grabs. St. Germain could have had 2, but he dropped 1. It was lovely seeing that. It was just to have a bowl win. The place, I know, Sheldon, you were there. It was loud. It was probably 85-15 Hokies. The tailgates were packed as soon as they opened.
Apparently the Porta-Johns were few and far.
Oh, they were terrible. There was not enough Porta-Johns there at all. Shout out. Met Matt Neal at the game near the Porta-Johns. It was pretty funny. But it was like Tally said, it was everything. It was everything. It was not only the game, but the post, the pre, and the fans themselves. Not everything was perfect, though. We did fumble the ball quite a few times, which I didn't like to see. But also considering the circumstances, Sheldon, it's not a shock because we fumbled, Tulane fumbled, we got on more of theirs than they did of ours. And I mean, it's to be expected in a game like that, especially after especially starting about late second quarter through the early part of the fourth quarter. It was pouring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the thing, the thing that with the turnovers there, we ended up winning the battle overall. They got us on one that hurt more just because it was a scoop and score. Yep. So, that probably balances out on the whole. They got the score. We got a couple more turnovers there that put us in good situations. So, I think the fumbles were bad. They were to be expected. I think some of the drops were also to be expected, but I felt like we never could really get in a rhythm in the passing game. They were a little more successful on that front than we were, but I think overall our defense kind of did a better job of playing them balanced and keeping them off kilter a little bit, whereas we were able to kind of lean on our run game and kind of keep the drives moving.
100%. Anything else, Tally, Sheldon, went bad that y'all just did not like to see?
Stephen Gosnell getting hurt.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Any report come out on him yet?
I don't think so. I've heard that he could be back. I heard he was gonna miss spring, but again, that's nothing official. I don't know what the official injury is.
Did you hear anything on Steven?
I've heard late spring, early summer is kind of the window that we're looking at.
Hey, Chans
that's
and Brody already on campus. Get them some reps, baby. Get them some reps. The other thing that I'll say, and it's still, we're going to talk about maybe a potential fix of this later, was we didn't have bad run fits, but we had some run fits. And I know their running back, Mekhi Hughes, is a good running back. But a couple times we just, and I know the weather's weird. It's just like I had like those flashbacks to those early season games when the fits were really bad. Like, oh no, here we go again. Luckily they were not bad. Let's go this. I'm gonna skip anything you haven't word prepared for because it's a bowl game. All sorts of crazy shit happens. But think about this going into 2024. And Sheldon, I'll let you lead this, man. What can we do better going into 2024? Just high level based off what we saw on this game.
I mean, I think linebacker play is the biggest thing. I was talking to this with a coaching friend I have, and I think, probably obviously went on and got the Mike linebacker from MTSU, and I think the reason for that was because he wants players at that position that have the instincts. I think this year we just didn't really have the necessary instincts at that position. If you look at small details like how they take their first step and how they react to the flow of the ball. Obviously, if you've played, that being a linebacker is all about reading keys. So you read certain keys based on how the guards and the centers are moving in certain ways. And we just didn't get enough good play from those guys this season. So I would presume they're probably done with Portal as far as linebackers go. But I just think they got to really shore that unit up because it's obviously a very critical position. And so if you figure you can get the D-line straight, which they have, you've got 2 lockdown corners. Hopefully the safeties are a little bit better with the experience you got coming back. I mean, the linebacker is kind of that one missing piece there for the defense. So I mean, you just gotta get that figured out.
All right, linebacker play. Tally, what about you?
Yeah, similar to what having some. I don't know the last time that Virginia Tech had this many people come back or any people come back. Like, it seems like every year that we had people eligible to leave, they leave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether it be going to the league, going all the way back to, the Tyrod years with people leaving and going to the NFL and things like that. So having all those guys come back was awesome. Just get us prepared to go into 2024. But, to kind of piggyback on what Shelton said, that one group that has you kind of worried is, well, not even just the group, just the middle period, the middle of the line. They went out and addressed that. The middle of the linebacker core, they went out and addressed that. I think that, I'm still a little skeptical about safety because I know we have some pieces that we can use there, but I don't quite know who's going to be there. Is Schroman going to be healthy? I don't know what he's done to himself and who they're going to put by him. I know we got some young people, but going out and getting Brumfield made me feel a lot better. I can say that. So I'm excited about because in the skill positions we got, you loaded. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a lot of options there that you can play with. So I guess the only thing that could have went better if we had Peyton Wilson or something.
There you go.
We had him.
That'd have been nice, right?
That would have been nice. All righty, Brian.
It's the offensive line podcast, right? Let's get better on the O-line. And I think we finished the season a lot better than we started it overall. We saw some run lanes open. Some of that was a product of Drones just being the starter. Some of that was a product of Bowen playing to Drones' strength and the strength of the other skilled players in the offense. But some of that was improved offensive line play over the course of the season. But it was still inconsistent, especially when we play those higher caliber teams. We need to be able to win or at least stalemate in the trenches against a Louisville, against a Florida State, against an NC State. We didn't do that great down the stretch against those caliber teams. So I'd like to see that improve in 2024. I think, we got a guy in there. I'd like to see one more at least between now and the start of fall camp. I'd like to see at least one more, but
And don't
we're
bring
showing
nobody
it
in
up a
like no
little bit.
fucking. Don't bring no fucking Frady in there.
Oh god.
We don't ever, I mean, he may be
Tally
good.
said
I
if
don't know.
he couldn't get in there in this
Hey,
year,
If he
don't
couldn't
bring
in
him
this
back
year,
for
he
next
ain't
year.
getting in next year. Can I say something? Can I say
Go ahead.
something? And Charlie, you mentioned actually we've all three have mentioned this. All four of us have mentioned this during some way. What I want to see better moving forward is the games where we annihilated people. Tulane, we won by 21. Syracuse. I want the coaches to bring that mentality to every single game. We talked about it, like the FSU and Louisville and the NC State games. We were kind of like, and we don't need that.
Yeah, we went in
Have
with
to
that
just
shell.
turn
Yeah,
them loose.
went in with
Yeah.
that shell shock mentality.
Shell shock mode. And I think maybe they've now experienced it, right? Experience is one thing that you cannot teach, is going through those experiences. And one thing Brent Pry said to us on this program, I am constantly evaluating myself. I'm constantly evaluating what we do, why we do it. And there were some changes, obviously, this offseason before leading up to the fall break. We got to a bowl game. I think this is a coaching staff that will look at that. And for those big games, I think there is going to be a different mentality, and that's what I want to see better.
I want to say too, just that that brought you saying that. I thought about something. I talked to Don V earlier on the phone, and he said something that I thought was pretty cool, pretty profound, for his analysis and what he thinks. Okay, we play Clemson next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Clemson is us. I don't want a special jersey. I don't want them to be telling me Michael Vick's in the audience. I don't want them to put on anything. We need to go out there, and I think the way Don put it was, go out there in white pants and a maroon jersey at 3:30 and just go beat them. Like, they are us. They are the same. Like, if there is a talent level discrepancy, it's not going to be very far. Like, they're not going to be that much ahead of us next year when we play them. We just got to go into those games and just go play. Like when Duke went and played a lot of teams, just business. Like
just
when
business.
Elko had Duke going and playing teams, and it was just, they just went and played. Like they didn't have to get up for it. It wasn't a special production or anything like that. Like we just got to go play, no matter who it is. I feel like on some of those games, like FSU or Louisville or whoever the teams may be, it's like, oh, they're this, and we got to get this, and they've been doing this, and it's like we're trying to play this underdog role when we're the same teams. These aren't teams that's been stomping us for the last however many years. Clemson's been beating us in the last couple of years that we've played them, but it's like now that's not the same Clemson.
Nope, not at all.
You know what I'm saying? So we just got to go play, and I hope they bring, like you said, that next year. We got to go with that business mindset. You got to go and just go play the teams and go beat them, because we're going to be as good as just about everybody that we play. I ain't saying we're going to be better than everybody, but we're going to be close as far as talent goes.
Yep, talent's no longer here to here. It's kind of like here to here, even with the top teams in the ACC. So
right,
and then you look at certain positions, you can say we're more talented than them there.
Right.
We're more talented than them. All right, real quick, let's talk about the CFP in the national championship. Michigan beats Washington on Monday night. Some people were crapping on the game. To me, it was if you like New Age football, you didn't like it because it was low scoring. People were hitting shit out of each other, tackling, drop passes. But let's go back to January 1st. Was that not like the best set of New Year's games maybe in a decade? I mean, I took off January 2nd, and I'm taking January 2nd off probably for the next 10 years because I won't know my ass is going to be up till midnight watching the end of the Sugar Bowl. But, what of the three games we saw, and I know Monday's a little bit different, but what was your favorite, Shelton? Just to watch analytically, aesthetically, what was your favorite game to watch of these three?
Of these three, I would say, well, definitely Washington, mainly because I just love watching Michael Penix throw the football. I mean, just has a beautiful ball, so composed in the pocket. And I was kind of rooting for Washington also, just because they're sort of like, the kind of the scrappy underdog, and I love Kalen DeBoer's story of coming up from the the ranks of the NAIA or wherever he was, and going 67-3 at Sioux Falls, and coming to Fresno State, and then just working his way up the chain. So I love stories like that. But yeah, I mean, Michigan was I thought they were the best team in the country the whole season, regardless of sign stealing or not, and that turned out to be the case. So they just had nobody had an answer for their defense or their running game, really.
Tally, what was your favorite game of these three?
I mean, it was a couple. The Alabama Michigan game was pretty good. I enjoyed watching that game, but like, I don't know, just the whole thing, I guess, just watching all of the games was pretty entertaining. I wanted to be a rebel and protest, not watch any of them, because I don't give a shit how good the games are. I wanted Florida State to be in there just because I thought that was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was some good games. But I was thinking the whole time I was watching them, Georgia's better than these teams that are playing. Still think Georgia would have beat a lot of the teams that was in there. I mean, I don't know. They probably wouldn't have beat Michigan. That would be a good game, but I feel like they could have beat the other three teams.
Brian?
I think looking at the games on January 1st were interesting because I feel like you got kind of a contrast in styles. You had a very more modern offensive performance with Texas and Washington. Definitely a battle in the trenches with Bama and Michigan. Michigan just was so impressive because they won in the trenches on both sides of the ball in every game they played in the college football playoff. And it wasn't close really in any of them. That was the first team I've seen go against Bama and be that decidedly better in the trenches against an Alabama team.
It's true.
It really shouldn't have been as close as it was with how well they were playing in the trenches.
It's 100% true. And that's why that was my favorite game, because you talked about it being the second game was the modern day game, and it was, but the Rose Bowl, to me, that setting, the sunset, and it was a war. It was an absolute war where Sugar Bowl is a little different. Texas kind of fought back, but it's something about two teams just literally locking horns, battling, hitting. It's like everybody, there's an answer. And then right at the end, and I know everybody's given the Alabama OC shit about that play call, about it was an RPO and he should have thrown it. Number 5 pushed 65 into Jalen Monroe's leg. That's why that play didn't fucking work. So Shelton, you said it all year. Brian, Tally, y'all played in them. The trenches cost Alabama that game. Because when 5 pushed 65 into Monroe's leg, he wasn't going to be able to make the pass. And when he hit his leg, he wasn't going to be able to cut and get to the outside where he had a chance to score. And that was a beautiful game. All righty. Well, boys, we already went 54 minutes. I thought we were going to go on an hour total tonight, but that don't happen with us because we love the Hokies and we love college football. So right now we are going to take a quick pause from our digital partners and Main Street Pharmacy.
I can probably save you a lot of money, and I can take a lot better care of you. That's pretty much it. My name is Jeremy Counts, and I'm a pharmacist. I own and operate Main Street Pharmacy here in downtown Blacksburg. My brother's a pharmacist, I'm a pharmacist, my uncle's a pharmacist, my dad's a pharmacist. I remember he would give me M&Ms to count in little pill counters. This is just something I've always done, and I'm just lucky that what I know so well is something that I can do and feel good about it and give back to people. Pharmacies are your frontline defense. Pharmacy's job is to make sure you're getting optimal care for the lowest price possible. Also, we take the pressure off of emergency rooms. I'll tell people immediately when they need to go to the doctor, or I'll tell them if they just need a cream over the counter. If there's something that isn't commercially available, if it's something that's not available in a certain strength or a certain form or anything like that, we'll make it. Tailor-made medications. Some of those options save people a lot of money. What motivates me? I get to take care of people and live in Blacksburg. That's all I need.
As we take a quick break, we'd like to tell you about getting your free website report from our digital partner, Grassroots Digital Marketing Studio. They'll tell you how your website ranks on Google, on-site SEO, and social media. No commitment to buy anything. You can get your free report by visiting grassrootsdigitalstudio.com/free-website-report. Now back to the episode.
And we are back. And to kick off the second half of our episode, because he was unable to join us on State of the Program this year, We are going to give Shelton the floor. He's got some things he wants to talk about. And y'all, if you did not read Shelton's article on the key play just a few weeks, please go and read that article. That is one of the best pieces of work considering Virginia Tech football concerning the way the staff's going. Shelton, you did a hell of a job with that, man. I'm glad you waited till the end of the season. I'm really glad you waited till the end of the season on that. But you got some stuff you want to talk about where we are as far as the program goes. So the floor is yours.
Yes, well, it was certainly the tale of two seasons, the 2023 Hokies, Jekyll and Hyde. What a turnaround from where they were after that Marshall loss, talking about, 80-something in SP+, and, they moved up. They're one of the most improved teams by the end of the season. So, I had a few graphics and tweets I wanted to share if we could get those up kind of as we go along. The first one, so I tweeted this after the regular season and Power 5 teams that won conference games by 3 possessions. 7 ranked teams plus Virginia Tech. I think Texas was in there too now, but they also had an extra game, so some context there. But it was weird how Tech was in this company of such elite teams that finished the year ranked. And if we could go to graphic 1, which is the conference margin of victory, which was also very impressive. Tech beat up on their conferences by a lot, as we'll see in a second here. I think I can pull it up there. Yep. So we got there. So largest margin of victory in conference games this year, Tech was right around 8.3, which was pretty good. So the one thing, again, with every single team on this list besides Tech, what they have in common, they all finished the year ranked. And even if you go, past Tech, some of the teams below that, like NC State and Oregon State, they were in the top 25 for most of the year. So basically, you got these 20 or so teams that are all ranked or spent most of the year ranked. And then Virginia Tech. It is sort of like such a crazy outlier how well they performed in conference compared to the non-conference portion of the season. And obviously there was a huge delta between what they did against teams that they should have beaten, so to speak, versus teams that they were not expected to beat, like NC State and Louisville. So I think for me, my lasting memory of this team would just be how polarizing, I guess, they were, for lack of a better term. I felt like when they played, subpar teams like Boston College or UVA, that was when their skilled players really kind of were able to shine and sort of, exert their talent, so to speak. But when they played, obviously, much, mature, experienced, and talented teams like Louisville, Florida State, I think that was where you saw the offensive line problems really start to kind of rear their ugly head. But as Brian talked about, the O-line did get better throughout the course of the season. And once you take those talented skill guys, combine them with an O-line that's improving, a quarterback that's also improving, it made for a really good recipe. And if we go to the final graphic here, graphic 2, which is a year 2 improvement for Power 5 head coaches. So this was another article I did for the Key Play, where I looked at coaching hires of the Power 5 over the past 10 years or so. And in doing this, I found that Brent Pry, comparing year 1 to year 2, was the 5th most improved coach in year 2 for any Power 5 team. And you look at some of the names on this list. Lance Leopold's done a fantastic job at Kansas. Kirby Smart, name speaks for itself. Jonathan Smith, he was great at Oregon State. Dave Aranda, Steve Sarkisian, Mike Leach, all very good coaches. So, there's some misses in there, but I think that's a really good company to be in. And that's what should give Tech fans the most amount of confidence for what this program is capable of going forward. I really enjoyed doing the research on that piece because it sort of shed a light on lots of maybe dispelling some myths about coaching hires and kind of, how you sort of evaluate progress and where to sort of use that barometer. So what I found was that year 1 for a new head coach in Power 5, was not really predictive of how well their hire was going to turn out. But year 2 was extremely predictive. So when we talk about, new hires and rebuilding and, how well they do in year 1, year 2, you look at Mike Elko at Duke or Deion Sanders at Colorado, really it's year 2. That's kind of like the make or break. If you're not successful in year 2, it's not going to work out. If you are, you need to be at least steadily improving. And I think year 3 is where most coaches would say, that's where you kind of need to get the ball rolling. And I think Tech has a really prime opportunity to do that this next season. So as Curtis talked about, in my last piece, it was called Why Culture Matters that I wrote for the Key Play. And my biggest takeaway was that I think when you look at this team, it's clear that players want to play for Brent Pry. We didn't have barely any opt-outs. Most of them were pretty unconsequential. Guys wanted to come back. They're coming back next year. And obviously NIL money is a huge part of that. I'm not denying that at all. But it's a really good culture. And I think culture is so important when we talk about it. It's kind of like a buzzword, but when you really get down to it, it's the foundation for your program. Like if you don't have a good culture, you're not going to win football games. To me, things like scheme, X's and O's, those are all a byproduct of good culture and getting players bought in. And I've asked coaches this before. If you don't have buy-in from your players, nothing you say is going to work. It comes from buy-in, from leadership, from communication, and all those things really, tie into culture. And I think Brent Pry has done a fantastic job of setting the foundation for this program. And I think there are some pretty good things ahead. Now, Tech obviously has high expectations. When you start winning games, you're going to raise the expectation level. It's really, really hard to win 9, 10, 11 games at Power 5 level. So we're going to see if they can get there. But I do think all the signs based on the trajectory of the program, the numbers, the eye test, all point to the fact that this is a really, really good thing that Virginia Tech has going.
Beautiful, Sheldon, beautiful. And you talk about the returning players, because, and I've got it outlined here because we had finally the last domino that fell. You're right. There are guys who could have left. There are guys who could have went their chances in the drafts. All 4 of the wide receivers could have. They honestly could have. Yeah. All 4 of them. Even Ali with the small one. Nick Gallo, who would be a 6th-year guy, could maybe try the NFL or maybe just try life. And think about all that coming back. Look at that list. I know I've got it there out for y'all. Look how many guys that is. 6. That's 10 starters. How many people can sit here and say every single one of these guys, 9 of the 10 who made significant contributions this year are back?
Yep. Big deal.
It's a big deal. And it's to your point, Sheldon, with that culture. And again, you talk about how many times did we see the guys go in the portal? Sheldon, I know you mentioned, I think in the article, if not, you made some tweets about it. There's a guy going into the portal, but he's going to come back and play this game. And it's not only that person wanting to come back and play, it's Brent Pry allowing it because there are so many coaches that do not allow it. Right. And it just speaks to who he is as a coach. And I mean, like you said, next year it's, we're going to have to be tempering expectations about 7 months from now. Yeah, 7 months from now.
Yeah. We had 2 players that had consequential production that are not going to be back next year. You got Derek Canteen, you got Daquan Wright. That's it. Everybody else is back.
Everybody else is back. And then the additions in the portal and the lack of subtractions. We had Hunter McLean and Jack Hollyfield, who were basically – Hunter really didn't see the field. Jack was a backup offensive lineman, got the snaps. You mentioned the 2 biggest ones. And then we talked about the middle linebacker, Brumfield, coming over in the portal. We didn't have a chance to break down his tape. But him coming in to solidify that room, and then Kelvin Gillum with Peoples. This staff, and maybe it's not the staff. Maybe we need to give some credits to the analysts too, right? Because there are guys who are sitting in that room every day, and it's going to be their job to figure out who may be coming into portal, who fits what we do, who have we recruited before, where are the relationships.
Give some credit to Villagrana as well, and those guys behind the scenes. Like, they are setting our portal acquisition game up for success. Whether we close the deal or not, that's on the coaching staff, that's on the other pieces. But when we look at what Colby put together for those offers that went out, there was a clear plan. It was hitting the notes that we wanted to hit, both from a player location standpoint, from a player position standpoint. Like, they were hitting the ground running, and they had a plan, and they executed the plan, and we got more than we expected to, especially on the defensive line side of it in the trenches. I think we could, as we said earlier, could still use a little bit of help on the offensive side, but we plugged the holes that absolutely needed to be plugged. And I think that's where you want to be sitting when you come out of that first round of the transfer portal, is that, okay, we got these holes here. All right, let's plug them. Let's make sure that we're at least maintaining the status quo, if not improving on those positions. And I think we did that.
Tally, I know you got something to say.
Well, no, it's just, even the last show we did where we had you know, the fathers of a couple of players and recruits on the show, and they talk about, you know, how it works in the transfer portal, how it works during recruiting, you know, how the coaches are, you know, the going back to Sheldon's point, the culture that they've built is one that people are interested in getting to. You know, you about Chris, you talk about Chris Brody's dad, him talking about, you know, why he was there on the big transfer portal weekend and how they treated those transfer kids that came in and rolled the red carpet out for them. You know, it's okay to get people on campus. We've got a lot of players on campus. Hell, I think it was 3 or 4 of them that was in that national championship game. But to get them to come and play for you, you know, that's big. So, like you said, they had a clear path that they wanted to go and do. They had a plan that they wanted to execute, and they seemed like they went out there and did it. And the culture that they're creating is making people look at Virginia Tech. You know, I don't know, I'm not in the room, but looking at how some things panned out, I mean, we had to turn some good players away. We just don't have room for them. So, I mean, that's a good problem to have, to be like, sorry, we don't got room.
And that feeds back to the culture, right? Because you don't have room because you had guys that could have left or could have did something else that have bought in, that you want to keep that core together, right? They work well together. They fully bought in. You know, you want to make sure that you're trimming the fat, as it were, but you also want to make sure that you're not kicking guys to the curb that are an integral part of the culture that you've established, right? So I think that's another big part, is that we're building upon that year to year. You know, just because guys are out there in the portal, just because they've shown that potential, you want to make sure that you got the right guys and the right pieces together that maintain that culture, push the scheme that you were trying to establish, but also those pieces that work together well, you know, from an individual ability standpoint too. And I think we're starting to see all that kind of come together and gel as we kind of move through the end of 2023 season. These guys are working together really well, and I think keeping that culture moving is just as important as the pieces that we added to kind of complement that.
Yeah, and we talk about the culture, and they're building something, and it's continuously being built, and you take a look, and you heard the Peoples, and I listened to the Peoples interview that Matei and Evan and them did with him, Andrew Alex as well. I also listened to the Montavious Cunningham interview. Montavious Cunningham cracks me up. Tally, I feel like you need to interview him. We might just get you a one-on-one.
Let's do it.
He reminds me of Sergio Render so much, hearing him talk. They're both from that South Georgia. And, you know, but we're in a day and age of college football that X's and O's will always matter. You've got to have people that can do that. But we're in a place now where relationships matter probably more than ever. Like you talk about, there are guys we couldn't let in this year. You want to make a bet, this staff, whoever was that lead primary recruiter in Brent Pry, I guarantee you they're watching them, and I guarantee you if they see them make a good play, they get a text or send them an email or a DM to say, hey, you played good today, man. Keeping that relationship going, that maybe in 2 years, hey, we need that kid. I know he wants to be here. We can get him out of the portal. And I think these type guys, like this whole staff, has that. They have those personalities where they're not afraid. And we heard about it from, you know, Kevin Drones, that legitimately Tyler Bowen got in a plane and flew to Waco and was literally the first person there for Kyron, a guy who had started one game in his collegiate career, who was a redshirt freshman, did that. Says a lot. All righty. Anything else on this, Sheldon? Portal stuff, guys returning. Anything else you want to hit before we kind of get ready to wrap this up?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, like I said, the bar's been raised. So you know, right now we're all feeling high. We're riding the highs after finishing 6-3. But you know, in order to get to that next level, it has to take sustained recruiting and you know, just sustained really good coaching. And I think with Tech's schedule, they're set up really well to win bare minimum 8 games next year, maybe 9. Right. I'm not at 10 yet, but look, it's really, really hard to win. And that's something I stress over and over again. So I'm really excited for this team, for the future of the program. But in order to get to that level that we all wanted to get to, it's going to require a lot of hard work. But I think this staff is the right staff for the job.
All righty. Well, let's turn to some fun moments today, boys. Brian popped it out there a few days ago that we were going to pull some of our favorite plays from the year, and we have just that one. And Brian, I think now I've been on record of talking about it like 3 times now.
At least.
But it's still because of the importance of this play. It's the pit game. It's the touchdown. It's after the fumble. They're within 1. And like I said to Kevin, and when we were all together, and Kevin, I hope you heard me say it the other night, Sheldon, when that fumble happened with Drones and they scored, it's like, shit, we're about to lose the pit. In some way, we're going to lose this game. But that didn't happen. This is what happened.
Woods matched up against him, cornered blitz, and Drones got it free to Jalen Lane with running room, taken off for the end zone, and a score.
And
the corner is going to blitz from the top, which is going to send the safety over top of this receiver, and then you're going to end up having Lane coming inside, and there's no one left in the middle of the field. He's just going to work inside, and because the corner came from the top and the safety played over the top, there was all kinds of room for run after the catch.
That's my favorite play of the year. And there's some more on here I like, but that's my favorite play of the year.
And when I look back at it every time, it's actually you see a couple things, but the thing that I see the most is that a quarterback understanding what his receiver is going to do, and a receiver understanding where he is in the field and where the other pieces are in the field, because he settled down. He moved before he got to the ref. He didn't run himself into where the referee was to get that throw. Kyron put it right on him. Nothing but daylight, baby.
Nothing but daylight. All righty. I'll let y'all choose.
That was a play where I realized how fast Jalen Lane was. Like watching live men, you don't have an appreciation for how fast that dude is. He is so freaking quick.
Real quick. All right. What do y'all want to pull up next? What are some of y'all's favorite plays from this season?
I got one I want to save for last, so I'm gonna.
He's saving one for last.
Yeah. So if we're talking about a moment that happened on the hill, we're saving that one for last.
That is going to be last, so go ahead. All right, Sheldon, Tally, y'all look through them here. Which ones were some of y'all's favorite for the year?
I guess one of my favorite was the Tootin touchdown against FSU.
Oh yeah,
he jumped over somebody, and even though that game was horrible, it was just seeing his athleticism. It's like, dang, this dude is something. Like, I knew he was good. I knew he was pretty good. But it's like, he's really good. You know what I'm saying? He can do some stuff.
We saw him, like, scale it up against high-level competition, right?
It was like, he's out there mixing it up. He's, talking some junk. And he can play. So, I think he kind of took it up a notch after that, too.
Yeah, let's run it. Let's run it here.
2nd and goal. Tootin in motion. They toss it to the wide side of the field. Tootin turning the corner. Airborne. Touchdown. Tootin scores it. And Virginia Tech with its first touchdown. A 5-yard run by Bashal Tootin. His second one of the season.
Yeah, you can see they got the big offensive tackle Xavier Chaplin out here on the edge. He gets the block on Cypress, and Tootin just does the rest. If you don't secure the edges down here and you let the offense get
athletic as hell, man.
Yeah, man, and patience too. I love his patience running. He showed it a lot more as we went out throughout the season, but just seeing that athleticism and combination of power and breakaway speed, and then that agility to make that hurdle at the line there.
All right, Brian, you got any of yours?
Yeah, man. This is when I knew that we were on to something. This is when I knew, all right, if we can get this thing gelled, if we can get this thing moving, this offense is going to be something to be reckoned with. It is the Drones touchdown run against Marshall.
Oh, yeah.
So here we go. I'm going to run it.
Yeah, Tyler Bowen said Tootin's got to have a big afternoon today for us to win on the road, and there goes Drones. Right side pylon for the Virginia Tech touchdown.
But it's a great job by Kyron Jones. Big, strong quarterback. And those black shoes, you got the white stripe there on the sideline. I saw green grass in between. I think it's going to be a touchdown.
I love that they brought up the black shoes too, like the cleats, man. Everybody complains about them black cleats, so I'm glad that it made the broadcast. But that run there, that's kind of everything that you get from Kyron Drones, right? You had a good read, you had making guys miss, making guys miss tackles in the backfield. Then you saw the speed, then you saw the finish, and I was like, all right, so. When all three of us were sitting together, Sheldon was elsewhere on this game, but when we were sitting together against Purdue and we saw Drones kind of run over a guy and as he's going out of bounds, I was like, this guy's different, but this is what showed me, all right, so it's not just the attitude, he's putting all the other skill sets together. This was something that got me really excited about what this offense could really be with Drones at the helm there.
100%. Brian, check out the chat. Shelton dropped his in there. See if you can get that on the screen. Shelton, we'll get back to you in just a second. But while Brian's sorting that out, I'm going to flip to the defensive side of the ball here for a second. And that Thursday night in Lane Stadium against Syracuse, it felt like old times. It felt good. Even though when this play happened, we were already beating them down by a bunch, but it was just beautiful to see when two defensive ends meet at the quarterback.
All right, getting that one pulled in here.
Schrader out of the end zone. Here comes the pressure. Schrader, safety. That is Antoine Powell-Ryland and Cole Nelson, who's wearing the Frank Beamer 25 tonight.
We saw Coach Beamer at halftime up here, watching his Hokies. Fired up, proud to see the 25 jersey, and they have no answer for APR, Antoine Powell-Ryland. The speed he brings around that edge.
And it's something of what an impact he was to that defensive line this year. I mean, he made that unit significantly better, and it's no knock to any of the other guys who have been here a while. But he effectively, Sheldon, you talked about scaling it up for next year. He scaled the defensive line up this year. He made that line better. He made some of those young defensive ends better, and it was great to see that. That night was beautiful in Lane Stadium. Brian, have you been able to get the one up Shelton wants to see?
Getting it pulled now. Give me just another couple seconds here if you want to hit one more. And we'll pull that one in.
All righty. Listen, this is another one that I love, and I'm doing a lot of talking right now. But this is from the Wake Forest game, and this is what the RPO can be with someone like Kyron Drones running it. This is the huge 75-yard touchdown to Jalen Lane again. Again, we see how fast he is. But watch the RPO and watch the safety, because that man took a step, and he paid for it with his life.
Back, they need to become more of a complete back, whether it's a pass
protection,
right
here.
Whether it's doing all the little things you need to do to be a starting tailback.
RPO, I'm going to go in. You were supposed to be right there, son.
It's going to be an answer from Virginia Tech, and that's Lane. 75 yards, the Hokies answer.
And said, look, I got a guy who can make some plays. Great job on the RPO, finding his wide receiver, and then Lane was gone.
I mean, by the way, thank HCZ Digital Networks where we got these from. That boy thought that he was handing that ball off to Tootin. He just thought it immediately. He took 3 steps, and as soon as he gone. And again, there it is, Shelton, the speed of Jalen Lane, because as soon as he caught it and that one guy wasn't there, it's like, that's over. That's a touchdown. Brian, you ready to pull this one up?
We're good. Yeah, give me just one more second while I get this pulled into the
and these are just some of the plays, and I know people are shouting them out here. You got Ali and the kick return, which we're going to see because that was like the cap to the season. But any other tally plays we might not have that you can remember that just stood out?
I think it was my favorite play of the season was the long touchdown pass to Felton against Pitt. I think it was the first touchdown of the game where you had Drones going down talking shit to everybody that he could talk shit to, getting to the end zone. Like just that was a great play because we scored, but also it spoke to the mentality and the character that some of our kids have. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, we ain't gonna keep being the nail. We're gonna be the hammer.
There you go.
So,
I think we got that one.
I think we had that one in the chat.
I think we do. Hold on. We'll add this one. Sheldon, we're gonna get to yours. I think this one right here. No, this is the Syracuse one. Although it's another, I mean.
And we have a drone strike in Blacksburg.
It was kind of like that though.
Yeah. It was a lot of them that looked similar.
Outside, great release. You see him just use his speed.
Just blowing by the guy.
I love having a big, fast wide receiver on the outside. I feel like that's something we really haven't had in recent years. Having a guy with that type of size combined with breakaway speed once he gets moving.
But the crazy thing about Felton is that he's just getting started. Like
he's
got so much that he can, that he can do and he still can put out. You know what I'm saying? Because like the dude's a stud, man. He was raw, very raw. So I'm so happy that he was coming back. Not only to help the team, but I think it'll help his draft stock as well.
1,000%. All right, we got 3 more. And Shelton, this is your play of the year. This is from the Military Bowl, right?
Yes, it's from the Military Bowl. Drones touchdown pass to Benji Gosnell.
Oh yeah, that's
fourth quarter.
Yeah, this is sick though, because no.
Boop. Yep. So great. The reason I chose this was because I thought it was a fantastic play design, and I was talking about it with a coach, and I'll kind of relay what he said here. So you got toss, sprint, fake. The H-back guys now the primary route, and it kind of plays off our split zone and split toss action that they run a lot. So he said a cool detail there was the H-back wasn't the bluff man decoy in that situation. It's sort of like a cross between the H-back / tight end leak and a sprint toss bluff. So lots of technical jargon in there, but basically, just having a play with deception, with multiple or what appears to be multiple options in the play, and really good job by Drones of if that wasn't a real read, at least selling a read there. I just love that design, and obviously Drones made the throw.
Yeah, and understood where he was relative to the line of scrimmage because that was important as well.
Yeah.
All righty. We got one more defensive play. Brian, we didn't get to see this until much later in the evening because we were at a game ourselves, but Dorian Strong basically just put BC to bed real early in that game, and 2 beautiful interceptions here, man. Let's get that one up.
Play action.
The man who's an All-American,
shot
but
over the
not
middle,
all-ACC.
and it is picked off right away.
Yeah, crazy.
Picked off by Virginia Tech. What a play there by Dorian Strong. Castellanos is going to take a shot down the field. Underthrows it again, and this time intercepted. Dorian Strong, his 2nd interception of the game.
Dorian Strong, a heck of a heads-up play, getting his eyes around to get another interception on the game.
Yeah, he's top 50 player in the country or something like that, but isn't a
all ACC
cornerback.
Multiple second team All-Americans because his ridiculous completion percentage numbers, but he can't be the best in the ACC.
Robbie, no.
No, shit, Tally. It is beautiful. The 44 Magnum, baby.
It is growing on me, but get him in single digits, please.
Man, if he's gonna play like he played this year, hell, he can keep it.
Do whatever he wants, right?
Yep.
Right. Well, y'all. Well, it is asked for. We already mentioned it. And I do not think I got Bill's call on this. I should have found Bill's call, but I'm working. I'm trying to find this stuff. This was just poetic, man. This was poetic during that game.
They finally get a little bit of life, and Tootin just snatches it right back, and then rubs their dick in a little bit. So
he does what?
Tootin's going to be able to return this Gagnard kick.
He does what?
A blocker in front of him.
There.
Gets the corner, and he's gone.
Bashal Tootin starts celebrating at the 30-yard line. 94 yards. What a day for Bashal Tootin. This right here, when he gets it outside, he just runs away from 5, 6, 7 Wahoos.
Yep, he just goes. He's fourth in the ACC in all-purpose yards, averaging 111 yards per game. He is going to double that at least. There we go.
Cold beverage on a cold night.
And I'm pretty positive at the beginning of that clip where you hear the pitter patter, and I think that was our coaches clapping and raising hell in the booth. if I can remember correctly.
Because they nailed it. Man.
The patience, though. I mean, I think that's the thing when I look at Tootin, like he's not quite that elite level patience that we saw with Khalil Herbert in terms of just being able to wait for it, and then just explode through the hole. But I mean, he's got some of that, and he's got a little bit more, I think, power combined with that breakaway speed, and we saw kind of all of that on display there, man. He had patience, accelerated outside, and then ran away from everybody.
It was so many plays this year that he made, some of them may have only went for 5 yards or 7 yards, where he's going towards the sideline and it looks like it's nothing there, and he just keeps stringing it, and then he bends that corner.
Yep.
And then, like in the Tulane game, he bends the corner and he scores. It's like, how does he get there, and how does he accelerate once he gets there? It's like you expect him to get caught from somewhere, but he just doesn't.
And then when he gets caught, sometimes his lower half, he looks like he got tree trunks for legs.
Yeah, he's like a little bowling ball, man.
You ain't taking him down with a little hand tackle, and it's always beautiful to see that. Well, boys, believe it or not, we have wrapped up what is now our first season as a team. Winning season when we brought y'all on. That's all we need to do is just bring Tally and Shelton on, Brian. We would have had some winning seasons between.
Man, if y'all listened, we told you it was going to happen a long time ago.
Hey, listen, this panel, these 4 gentlemen right here, we said we were going to a bowl. Other people doubted. We did not doubt.
Kept the faith.
But this is effectively the end of our 4th season on the Boundary Corner podcast. We'll be back in a couple weeks to start season 5 of the Boundary Corner podcast. Want to really appreciate this was definitely a year where the growth, not only adding to amazing people to this podcast, Tally and Shelton, you guys are awesome in what y'all do. I love chatting with y'all. Got to meet everybody got to pretty much meet each other this year, which was great. But we also took growth. I see there's still people watching. We took a growth. We appreciate everybody who watches. State of the program, I think, went over 1,500 views, which is insane.
Just on YouTube, we had another 2,000 plus audio listens, and we had a mountain of Twitter views and Facebook views while that was live. So I mean, that was a monster episode. When y'all joined us, preseason. For the preview panel, also monster episodes. We've had some big monsters this year. We appreciate everyone coming out, supporting us, spreading the news to folks out there. I think that's the big thing. Like, word of mouth has been big for our podcast. I mean, when we started, we didn't really have a whole lot of built-in network. We've grown our network both, from friends in social media. Friends that we talk to day to day in the Hokie Nations. It's been amazing, the response that we've got, and we appreciate all of that support.
Definitely. It's been a fun ride, man. You know what I'm saying? I was very reluctant to get into this because it's time consuming. It takes some time. That Brian and Shelton does most of that work as far as time goes, behind the scenes, analytics and getting stats, and then Curtis has to wrangle everybody in. So I just get on here and talk, but it still takes a lot of time. But it's very, it's something that we enjoy doing, and we enjoy y'all being here. Spread the word, man. Like, hey, we're not done. We want we want to do some big things this year. We want some new guests. We want more guests. We want more meetups. We want to do all of that. We're gonna do it all. So we appreciate everybody for the last year that we've had, and I'm looking forward to the next year here.
Absolutely.
Yep. Can't wait. Big things ahead in 2024, I believe.
Big things ahead. And I'm going to go ahead and make a plug. So somebody asked about it. Rayshawn McCormick out on Facebook. Listen in March. Matesis, he always joins us. We're going to talk about all these players in 2025, in-state, out-of-state. So
we're hoping we're going to have one or two in the boat that we kind of break down in depth, and we're going to look at where we stand with the rest of that class. And usually we have Matei on a couple times. We'll have him on late February, early March, kind of get a little primer for the season, and then we'll bring him on again kind of late midsummer to kind of see where we are before we get into the meat of the season. So we'll usually have two big recruiting updates. Obviously, we're going to keep updating throughout the year, but as we go along, it's going to be a lot of fun this year. We got some new faces. Actually, we got one behind the scenes right now that we're bringing on this year, Jack Day. He's going to be a production assistant for us. So I think we're going to level up pretty good here from our media standpoint as we kind of move into the season 5 this year. So welcome aboard to Jack. And we're really looking forward to what this upcoming year is going to bring.
Absolutely.
Yes, Robbie, we will meet this year. If I got to come to one of your games on Friday night, we're gonna make it happen.
We're gonna drive to North Wilkesboro so Tally can.
Hey, I'm gonna make it happen this year, man. I gotta meet Robbie.
All right, well, boys, that does wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner Podcast, brought to you by the Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
I'm Nick Saban's uncle.
And I am Shelton Moss.
Visit the website, boundarycornervt.com, to listen to all of our episodes. Check the merchandise shop out while you're there. Always follow us. Twitter, over 2,500 now. I took a monster game this year. Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube account. Any podcast source, we're on them. We're on them all. As always, Jason Long, our buddy that Tally got to meet, our music man in Roanoke. He plays us in. He plays us out every week. Check him out. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. We thank you for listening. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.
Hokies.